Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for the Atlanta Falcons at the San Francisco 49ers in their Week 9 matchup played November 8th, 2015. We're going to go over the scores and the stats and give our breakdown and analysis. So starting off in the first quarter, just over 5.5 minutes into this game, Matt Bryant hit a 44-yard field goal, and that made it 3-0 Falcons over the Niners. So that was it for the first quarter in this low-scoring defensive battle. And in the second quarter, about a minute and a half in, Blaine Gabbert hit Garrett Celek for a 1-yard touchdown. Phil Dawson had the extra point, and now the Niners were in the lead 7-3. Then, with about 6 minutes left before halftime, Matt Bryant hit his second field goal of the game, this one from 36 yards out. It made it a 1-point game with the score now 7-6, with the Giants still in the lead over the Braves. Just a little joke there with how low the score was. But with less than 3.5 minutes left, in the first half, Phil Dawson hit a 44-yard field goal. That made it 10-6 as the Niners extended their lead to 4. And with just over a minute left, still in the second quarter, Blaine Gabbert threw his second touchdown pass of the game, again to Garrett Celek, this one an 11-yarder. Dawson hit the extra point, and it was 17-6 as they extended their lead now to 11. But just before halftime, Devonta Freeman gets in the end zone. Matt Ryan hits him for a 17-yard touchdown pass with just 13 seconds left on the clock in the first half. Bryant adds the extra point, and it was a 4-point game with the score San Francisco 17, Atlanta 13. So that was the score at halftime. And in the third quarter, it was scoreless. And in the third quarter, we actually saw Blaine Gabbert throw an interception, and that was with about 9 minutes left in the third. He was picked off by Adams, but the Falcons were not able to turn it into any points, as they would end up punting on their next possession, as these two teams were just trading punts back and forth. Now let's go to the fourth quarter. With about 10 minutes left in this game, the Niners had the ball, and they were driving towards midfield. And with about 7 minutes left, Gabbert was intercepted for the second time in the second half, this time by Beasley. And so now Atlanta would take over after the interception on their own 33-yard line, and they would drive all the way down to the 1-yard line. But on 4th and goal from the 1, they would be forced to settle for a 19-yard field goal that made it a 1-point game with the score San Francisco 17, Atlanta 16. So down by 1 with just under 3 minutes left to play, and now the Niners had the ball, and they just ran the clock out. They forced Atlanta to use their timeouts and even ran out the 2-minute warning. And coming out of the 2-minute warning, the Falcons used their final timeout, as the Niners just kept giving the ball to Gaskins. And then after picking up a first down after the final timeout of Atlanta, they just took 3 knees in the victory formation in about near midfield, and they held on to win this one. So the Niners hold on to win. They beat the Falcons in San Francisco in a low-scoring game. The Niners are 3-2 in Santa Clara at Levi's Stadium, but they're 3-6 on the season, as they are winless on the road. And the Falcons are actually 3-2 on the road. They're 6-3 on the season, as they've only lost 1 game at home, as they're 3-1 at home. But this game was in San Francisco. The Niners win it. A low-scoring defensive battle. Blaine Gabbert got the start over Colin Kaepernick, but I don't really see where he made much of a difference. I think that the Niners won in spite of Gabbert, not because of Gabbert. I think they actually probably would have won by more if they had Kaepernick out there, because it was really the defense that got the job done. And interestingly enough, Blaine Gabbert had more rushing yards than Devonta Freeman. How crazy is that? As the Falcons came in here, Freeman was the number 1 rusher in the league, and he gets shut down. The Niners have a really good run defense. They've been playing pretty good run defense all year, and they shut him down. And it was really the defense that got the win for San Francisco in this game. But let's look at the numbers, though. Blaine Gabbert, 15 of 25, 185 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, the 2 interceptions, both coming in the second half. Drawn was their leading rusher, 16 carries for 58 yards. Gabbert, 8 carries for 32 yards. And Gaskins, who helped him run the clock out on that final possession, had 7 carries for 20 yards. And in the receiving end, Patton, 3 receptions for 70 yards, was the leading receiver for San Francisco. Torrey Smith had 2 receptions for 44 yards. And Drawn also had 4 receptions for 38 yards to go with his 58 rushing yards, which gave him a total of 96 yards in this game. And for Atlanta, Matt Ryan, 30 of 45, 303 passing yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. But they heavily were relying on the pass. They couldn't get anything going on the ground. Freeman he had 12 carries, just 12 yards. He only averaged 1 yard per carry. And Julio Jones, he actually had some pretty good numbers. 10 receptions, 137 yards. And Freeman actually did get in the end zone with that 17-yard touchdown reception. He had 8 receptions for 67 yards, which would give him a total of 79 yards in the game. And Tammy had 6 receptions for 61 yards. And for the kickers, Matt Bryant, 3 for 3 on the field goals, 1 for 1 on the extra point, as he was perfect. Phil Dawson was perfect as well, 1 for 1 on the field goals, 2 for 2 on the extra points. And on defense, San Francisco had a couple sacks. Navarro Bowman had a sack, as well as Aaron Lynch. And for the Falcons, they had a couple of pickoffs. Adams and Beasley each had interceptions, but they were not able to turn those interceptions into touchdowns. They weren't able to turn them into points, although they got 3 points. That's it. Just that, the interception by Beasley would end up eventually leading to the field goal, and that was the only points that they got off of the turnovers, is they weren't able to turn that first turnover by Adams as he got the pickoff into any points. They ended up punting. They actually would punt on their next 3 possessions after that first pick before getting the second pick and then getting the field goal, and they fell just short, 1 point short of the victory, or tie rather. But we look at the first downs, 18 for San Fran, 17 for Atlanta. On third down, the Niners 6 of 14, 42% converted, and they went for it twice on fourth down, and they converted both times. And for Atlanta, 5 of 15 for 33% conversion rate on third down. Then we look and we see on the net yards, 318 for San Fran, 302 for Atlanta. Net rushing yards, and this is really the huge difference in this game. Who would have thought this going into this game, that they would just dominate on the ground, as they had almost 10 times as many rushing yards. Not quite, but 133 rushing yards netted for San Fran, only 17 yards on the ground for Atlanta. And through the air, 285 netted for the Falcons. Ryan was sacked twice, losing 18 yards. 185 netted through the air for San Francisco. Gabbert was not sacked in this game. And the penalties, 6 against the Falcons, 63 penalty yards, 5 against the Niners, 30 penalty yards. And in the red zone, the Niners were perfect, 2 for 2, 100%. The Falcons, 1 for 3, 33%. And that really was the big difference in this game, is they were not able to turn those red zone trips into touchdowns, as they left points on the field, and they lost by just 1 point. They did have more time of possession, 32 minutes and 8 seconds. The Niners, 27 minutes, 52 seconds. So it was a low-scoring defensive battle. Both these teams have pretty good defenses. Not the best, but they're pretty good on the defensive side of the ball. But an impressive performance by San Francisco to just shut down the run, force Atlanta to just have to pass the ball. But the thing is, too, you got to be dedicated to the run. If you're not getting yards, you don't just stop running. They really, in my opinion, they should have just kept pounding the rock, even regardless, because eventually you're going to get your yards. I mean, that's what we see with the teams that run the ball well. And that had been Atlanta before they ran into this brick wall out there in Santa Clara. But they weren't really committed. I mean, they passed the ball 4 times as much as they ran the ball. That is not balance. You need to have balance on your offense. Whereas we saw the Niners, they came with a balanced attack. They didn't put up big numbers, but they got the job done, and they shut them down on defense, and they ended up winning this game despite the 2 turnovers in the second half by Gabbert and no score. And all their points came in the second quarter. All 17 of the Niners' points came in that second quarter. So Atlanta was playing, pretty decent on defense, but the Niners just outplayed them defensively, and there just really wasn't any offense. Like I said, I think that Kaepernick, if he had been under center, they still would have won. I almost feel like the only reason to keep him on the bench is if you're trying to just save his health or something. But I mean, this is football. He should be out there. Colin Kaepernick, he actually is one of the most proficient rushers as a quarterback in the postseason. The guy actually, he's got talent. And Gabbert is not, setting off any records or anything like that. He didn't really, other than it was kind of funny that he had more rushing yards than Freeman. Funny in a way, sad in a way. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It's greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and had a great weekend and enjoyed all the sports.